You're tuned to BNN, the Bad News Network. This is Norman B. reporting. On Friday, I had the opportunity to ask Massachusetts Lieutenant Governor Tim Murray a timely civics question. He was at the University of Massachusetts to encourage Democratic students to become more involved in the political process. So, when my turn came, I said, I'm a lifelong Democrat and healthcare reform advocate. I love Ted Kennedy's politics. I voted for him, and I wish that I could continue to vote for him. However, I also love the United States Constitution and its rule of law. In Article 1 of the United States Constitution, long before the Bill of Rights, the Constitution clearly states, no ex post facto law shall be passed. Ex post facto simply means after the fact. If a person dies, if the law determining what happens after he dies is passed after he dies, that's after the fact. That is not constitutional in the United States. So my question is, will Governor Patrick sign an unconstitutional ex post facto law for an admittedly noble cause, even though it's not quite legal? The Lieutenant Governor thought about it. He said he hadn't heard the ex post facto argument applied to this case. He said he would have to look it up.
Article 1 of the Constitution.
It is. No ex post facto law shall be passed. It doesn't say maybe. It doesn't say sometimes. It's very clear on this.
Even if it's, for a good cause or a good reason, you can't just change a law after the fact. We have an opportunity to vote for a new representative. We want somebody a lot like Kennedy, but we can't have one until the time that the law deems is for the vote. So until then, we don't have full representation in this state. Until then, we're not going to be able to put forward the agenda that we really want, which is not the current system of public health care in this state, which is abysmal and not really working. We want public health care for everybody all over the country. That's really what most of the people in this state want, what the doctors want, what the patients want, what the paper pushers want. The people who are in the industry that creates profit for the insurance companies and supports it politically need to rethink. They need to go to reform school and learn how to do something else to make money, because they can't do it at the expense of the public health anymore. It's immoral. And still, we can't change the rules set forward in our Constitution in order to create a representative before it's time. Therefore, I'd like to call for a moratorium on this healthcare bill until my state has full representation, and until we can really put forward the agenda that will protect all the people in the country, not just some of the people some of the time, if they can afford it, when they can afford it. And I also think that it's unconscionable to make illegal immigrants who in fact harvest our vegetables, harvest our fruit, clean up after us, take care of the hotel industry, take care of our children, work in the sweat houses that dress us so fashionably and cheaply. I don't think that these people should be underrepresented and considered illegal. I think they should be considered a tremendous resource, and a tremendous effort should be made to make sure that they're fully covered as well. Everybody deserves health care in the interest of the public health, in the interest of the building of a nation, in the interest of the empowerment and humanization of our policies towards human beings and towards the planet.
No one should have to fear going to a hospital or going to a doctor for their own health. No one should have to fear that.
Certainly not anybody working in a backbreaking job in this country.
Well, that was a hateful provision of the bill. And Lieutenant Governor Murray touched on some of the same points that you did. He, in a way, rationalized why someone would want to pass this law, that Massachusetts should have 2 senators like every other state, that the Democrats would do well to have 60 instead of 59 senators, and health care is not the only important issue that's coming before them. I like your idea, Rachel, of the moratorium until we do have 60. But
otherwise it's taxation without representation, isn't it?
How did I know about the ex post facto clause of the United States Constitution? Because I had a civics class. Actually, in the early 70s when I had that class, it had the very propagandistic title of Americanism versus Communism. Just a few years earlier, in the mid-60s, when my father had Americanism versus Communism in a night school to get the GED diploma, he saw his class as right-wing propaganda. That the teacher hated all communists and equated communism with the brutality of the Soviet invasion of Hungary in 1956. The teacher had been there in 1956, and his class became a revenge. He was going to make people hate Russia as he hated Russia. On the other hand, the teacher that taught me was in a much more enlightened school and in a much more enlightened frame of mind. I'm lucky to have had such a brilliant teacher. He taught us simply, know the United States Constitution to know your rights. Know what's allowed and what is not allowed in the United States. We need to know this. We need to know it now. I would love for Massachusetts to have 2 voices in the Senate like everyone else has. Lieutenant Governor Murray said, why shouldn't we have 2 voices like everyone else? I would also like to bring the Senate further to the left. That would help my own agenda. But I'm not willing to violate the United States Constitution to do it. I can't advocate violating the Constitution. That would be like stealing. It's not correct. It's not honest. There is a law already in Massachusetts that tells us what we have to do to replace our senator. We have to have an election. That's our law. We cannot change it after the fact. Ex post facto protects everyone's rights. This is a very important issue. Do not allow this unconstitutional ex post facto law to go into effect. I want my own agenda to pass. I do. But I'm not willing to steal for it.